The Comfortably Zoned Radio Network presents Weighted Donuts with your hosts Wayne Unger and Craig Stier.
And hello and welcome to this week's show of Weighted Donuts. I'm Wayne Unger and I'm here with my co-host Craig Stier. How are you, Craig?
I'm fine. Enjoying the World Series. How about you?
Pretty much the same. And tonight we have a special guest. We have Angela Christino. And Angela is the executive director of Beyond the Diamond. And so I don't incorrectly describe the organization. I'm going to leave the synopsis to you, Angela, and welcome.
Well, hello. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So
I'm excited to be here and excited for the World Series. And, it's been a crazy few weeks.
I took a good look at your website, and you're seemingly a do-gooder, and that strikes home with Wayne and I. Wayne and I met at a not-for-profit in New York City, and so we have a special spot in our heart for somebody who does seemingly what you do. So welcome.
Thank you. I've been blessed to have the opportunity to do what I do. If anybody asked me 20 years ago what I'd be doing, if this was it, I would have said absolutely not, but I wouldn't change it for the world.
And so give us just a quick background, a little synopsis of the organization itself. Like I said, I think you can describe it probably a little bit better than me.
What Beyond the Diamond does is we connect athletes with charities and causes where they can provide support to other charities, to individual communities. I work with some Latin American players, helping them assimilate into the country. I teach them anything from problem solving, decision making, help them with the language, help them go out into the community. Some of these kids don't know how to go out and order at a restaurant. I help them with getting a driver's license, just getting to know what the culture here in the United States is as compared to what it is in Venezuela, in the Dominican Republic, in Panama. So I work with these kids out in the community and then get them out in the community, helping to get other kids interested in baseball, keep other kids off the streets. I've done a lot of work here in the States as well as in Puerto Rico, the Dominican, pretty much anywhere that needs help out in the community, partnering athletes with communities in need, building relationships with these larger-than-life people to these kids and getting them to help them learn life skills through baseball.
That's terrific. How'd you get started? Where did you get started?
It's kind of an interesting way to get started. My son was playing Little League baseball here in suburban Philadelphia, and his coach at the time had gone to a Rotary meeting and heard about some kids in Poland who were playing baseball with socks or milk cartons wrapped with tape around their hands. They didn't have baseball equipment, and he came to the families of the team and said, we all have stuff in our garages, and anything they're not using. We started collecting equipment. He started doing it out of his garage. An organization called Pitch In for Baseball, and that is where I got my start. Pitch In for Baseball started collecting equipment and shipping it around the world. I volunteered with them from the very beginning. I sat on their board of directors for 7 years. Still hold Pitch In for Baseball very dear to my heart, and that is where I got my start. Collecting and shipping equipment was not enough for me. I needed to see where it was going, what impact it was making out in the community. And I had some contacts in Puerto Rico, had gone to Puerto Rico for Thanksgiving with my family, called the Latin American director of Little League and asked him to take me out to where some of the equipment had gone. And once I did that, I was hooked. I saw these little kids with the equipment. I handed a glove to a little boy, and he said, "That's for me. I can keep it, and I'm going to take it home and sleep with it." And from then on, I I felt I needed to do more. So I contacted some players I knew, and the World Baseball Classic was going on that spring. I went down during the World Baseball Classic. We brought some more equipment, and I did some clinics, and it just kind of grew from there. Got to know some agents, got to know some other players, and that's how I got my start.
Now, the players that you help assimilate here, is it major leagues, minor leagues, or is it a combination
They start
of the two?
starting when they're in the minor leagues. Usually when they first come into the country when they're very young. Two players that I've worked with very closely here in this area, Michael Franco with the Philadelphia Phillies, Severino Gonzalez. When they first came into the minor leagues, neither one of them spoke very much English. I knew Michael Franco's agent very well, so I helped Michael, with anything that he needed help with. Just kind of like a mom. I became like a mom to these kids. And, you ask any of these kids, what's the thing they miss the most when they are drafted, when they are, come into this country, when they're signed, when they go away from home? The thing they miss the most is their mom. Especially Latin American kids. The mom is the center of the family. Most of them, some of them only come from a family with the mom, the grandmother. You look at Jose Fernandez, who was the core of his family, his mom and his grandmother. So that's the mindset of these kids. So what they miss the most is their mom, and their mom helping them do the things that they don't know how to do. So that's what I kind of became.
So in Franco and Gonzalez's, did the players or the agents get a hold of you directly? Or
yes, the agents.
Did the Phillies get a hold of you?
Directly through the agents, yes. And or sometimes I meet a player, and a player will contact me themselves, or through another player that I know. This year in the Phillies minor league organization, we had Jessmail Valentin, who is the son of Jose Valentin, who played with the White Sox. I've known them for many years. I've known Jess since he was playing in high school. We got together when he was here in Reading, Pennsylvania. We did an equipment collection, which then his mom and dad came for a weekend. They took that equipment back to Puerto Rico. I'm planning to head down to Puerto Rico within the next month or so and do some clinics down there with some of the neighborhoods that I've worked with down there. And I've worked in some really, really difficult neighborhoods down there. Yorns Torres with their Boys and Girls Club, as well as just with their neighborhood with Casaria and Nemesio Canales, which since I started going there a few years ago, the first time I was there, it was in really, really bad shape. We had maybe 20 kids came out. They got equipment, and I've been back twice since then, and it is just amazing the difference, and to see that the same kids are still playing. And, these kids capture my heart. There's always one. There's always one who just kind of sticks in my head and doesn't ever get out. And, I kind of follow them through, all of them, but that one, and there's one little boy, his name is Carlitos. The guys there send me pictures, and I look on Facebook, and I see how he's still out there every night practicing and still playing baseball. And every time I go, when he runs and jumps into my arms, it's like that's what I know. What I'm doing is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Now, how long have you been doing this?
Almost 11 years.
Has any of the young kids, have any of them transitioned to being signed?
Some of the kids who I've worked with, all the ones that are in minor leagues and major leagues now are players that have already been in.
Right. No, I mean I'm talking about the younger kids.
No, they're all still too young. They're all
right.
young. Now,
okay.
Mentioning Jessmail Valentin, I did some work with the Puerto Rico Baseball Academy High School as well, which is it's the model that was used for the urban youth academies. So I have done some of their community service projects. I go back down to visit them quite often. It's their 15-year anniversary this year, and I'm hoping to go down for that in a few weeks. But I have seen those kids, Carlos Correa. I happened to be there when he first started 10th grade, and I was at the draft at Major League Baseball the night he was drafted number 1 in the draft. And so, yes, I've been able to see them transition from high school athletes. Jeff Valentin, the same thing. He was drafted the same year as Carlos Correa. So I've been able to see them through from high school to now being signed and being drafted. So, which is a very proud moment.
That must be awesome.
Yeah, that's when I was there with Carlos Correa the night he was drafted number 1. I consider that probably one of the proudest moments of my baseball career, to see that and be there and have been there when he started 10th grade, which is really, kind of exciting, and watch him, grow through high school and then to be drafted.
And real quick question, and then Craig, you can go. How much? Okay, I mean, besides your involvement with your kids or with your son in Little League, beyond that, how much of a fan were you at that point? Were you a casual fan, or were you a rabid fan even back then?
No, I was more of a casual fan back there. I liked baseball from the time I was a kid. My grandfather loved baseball. I was more of, I want to be out in the field playing than I was watching. So I played softball through high school, and I still play softball or hit a baseball anytime I can. And but now I love the sport, in the 11 years, and it's more, I can't say I'm an avid any team fan. If you ask me what my team is, the Cardinals, because I know probably most of the players on the team and have a connection with a former coach of the Cardinals. But I love watching the players that I know succeed. So I love baseball. I love to see these guys do well. I love to see the young guys. I prefer to watch a minor league game than I do a major league game. I prefer to go to a minor league game than I do a major league game. It's just more, I don't know, it's the whole atmosphere is different, and you see these guys struggling to get, where they want to go and working so hard. And, that's the baseball I love. I love the human.
Well, I agree, but I personally have a cutoff point, whereas to me, like, the game just kind of gets a little slow. So, like, you go below AA, it starts to get slower. And I live in Staten Island, so we have the Staten Island Yankees, so that's the New York Penn League. And my son, like, after the 4th or 5th inning, he wants to bolt. And, and in a way, I almost don't blame him. So, it is a slow game. But the atmosphere itself and, as close as you are to the field and to the players and everything else.
More intimate.
You can't beat it. Exactly. You can't beat it.
Right. I often see parents taking their little kids to major league games, and the kids are crying because it's crowded and fans all over the place and these big, gigantic mascots. And I think to myself, they would just take them to a minor league game, and that breeds the fans to become a major league fan. You take them, the players are right there. It's so much more of an intimate atmosphere. My kids have been with me. I take my kids with me everywhere, so they have been with me from the beginning. My oldest one was 7. My younger guy had just, he was an infant at the time, so he has been with me. He grew up in the game, and anytime I can have them with me, they're with me. I took them to the All-Star game in Anaheim in 2010. I went out and worked with the RBI program out there. I chaperoned the Ciudad Deportiva Roberto Clemente girls softball team to the RBI Junior Classic. So I've had some amazing opportunities that my kids have been able to participate in as well.
Right. Are your kids baseball players now?
Yes, they are. They're both baseball players. My oldest son played all through high school. He plays now an intramural club team with Penn State University up at University Park. My younger guy is 14, and he plays in our local leagues as well as a local travel tournament team here, the Connie Mack League. So they both play, and I'm on a baseball field more than I am anywhere.
That's not a bad office.
If I had daughters.
But that's not a bad office.
No, it's not. It's not. It's wonderful. I'm blessed. I'm very, very blessed to be able to do what I do. And I do a lot of work here in the States as well. Just did a huge clinic out in Chicago with Derek May, who was the assistant hitting coach of the St. Louis Cardinals at the time. He had been drafted by the Chicago Cubs, 9th overall, when he was in high school. And so when the Cardinals were going to Chicago to play, I knew if I asked him to help me out and do something there that he wouldn't say no. So I contacted some people I knew in Chicago, Lou Collier, who runs a program out there. He's a former player. And we did a clinic for about 50 kids. Had Youth One Sports come out and cover it. They did a story. And it was in the Curtis Granderson Stadium, which is on the UIC campus in Chicago. Absolutely beautiful stadium backdrop, and these 50 kids out there who hung on every word that Derek said and everything that he showed them. Disciplined kids, incredible coaching staff. And these are all inner city kids. Chicago right now is just, it's horrible. In the last weekend with the World Series going on, there were 17 murders, all young people under the age of 30. So anything that we can do in these cities to keep these kids off the streets, and you get somebody like Derek who is just committed to doing whatever he can to help, bring baseball to kids who otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity to play and to, teach what he knows. And he's a second-generation player. His father played, and now he played. His brother's a scout, and he's now a coach. He's got 3 boys who play. So he's bringing his teaching, his mentoring, and he's able to help these kids and give them something to look forward to. And when he says he believes in them, he truly does. And same thing with Lou Collier, Karan Walker, some of these guys who are do some work here in the Philadelphia area in Hunting Park, as well as with the MVP 360 program, which is a fantastic program here in Philadelphia, keeping kids off the streets. I've worked with Harold Reynolds with the Jackie Robinson Foundation days, with the Jackie Robinson Day RBI program. So I've had some amazing opportunities with some amazing athletes to get out and get these guys out there to, let these kids know that there's alternatives to destructive behaviors.
What is the toughest thing that you think for a Latino ball player to transition to as far as culture goes in the States?
I think the language barrier is very difficult. Communicating, I don't think they understand. The language doesn't translate exactly. So when they're being coached, the communication barriers, I think they don't, they don't understand things as well as they should. And I think that's something that holds them back, and they're afraid to let somebody from the team know that they don't understand. So they just say, yes, yes, yes. And you just kind of agree with what's going on. And I think that holds them back because they just don't, they don't understand and they don't communicate as well as they should be able to. And I think MLB needs to do some more to, we now have translators, interpreters in the 30 major league clubs, but it needs to start sooner. It needs to start in rookie ball. They need to have people there to help these kids educate them. Some of them don't have a mastery of their own language, let alone come here and master the English language. So I think more needs to be done. And Carlos Beltran has been instrumental. He is the one who went to the Players Association and he got the interpreters with the 30 major league clubs. Jose Bautista has been very outspoken against, what's going on and how there's no training for these guys to get, just to understand. They don't even know how to order a pizza. So, there's a lot more that needs to be done with player development at the Latin American players.
Yeah, but it's amazing if they sign a Japanese free agent, then he'll be assigned his own personal translator.
That's right. Yeah. Cardinals had a pitcher. And he had his own interpreter with him.
Right. I believe he was Korean, right?
Korean.
He's Korean?
He's a Korean player.
He's Korean, yes. Mm-hmm. But, we've seen it. We saw it here with the Yankees. We had, I forgot. We had Hideki Arabu, but then, right. but the second time around they did a little better. They had Hideki Matsui. But again, yes, he had his own translator.
Right.
So, and so tell me something. We're gonna twist off the subject a little bit. Who's your pick for tonight?
Cubs all the way.
And now
I have a
there
special connection to the Cubs. So Joe Maddon and I grew up in the same town. So
that's
I would
right.
love
You told
to
me
see,
that. Correct.
I'd love to see Joe bring the World Series trophy home, not only to Chicago, but it would go to my hometown as well, Hazleton, Pennsylvania.
Got it. Okay.
Wow, that's pretty cool. That would be something.
So it's cool. I have a connection to both teams in some ways. I've worked with Michael Martinez, who is an absolutely amazing kid. When he was here with the Phillies, I brought the Uganda Little League team to play a goodwill game here in our area. And because Michael Franco and Michael Martinez had the same agent, I got to meet Michael Martinez, and he texted me and said, "Is there something else I can do?" When he met, after they met the Uganda team, just a very warm, open, sweet kid. Anything he could do to help. He was very disappointed that they were leaving the next day after he had met them to go to New York because he wanted to do something. He said, "Can you bring them to the field, or can I do this? Can I do that?" I mean, just, there's some great guys out there and great kids. And this is a kid from the Dominican Republic who had no connection to Uganda whatsoever, other than he knew where he came from and he wanted to do something to help someone else. So I get to know these kids in a different way than fans get to know them. And there's some of them are just absolutely incredible kids. Just, most of them could be my children. So it's, I kind of just feel like their mom.
Let me ask you a question. It's a little pointed, okay? Do some players, I'm sure anything that goes through you, I can just tell from your heart that this is not the case. But do you think that some players, after they sign some very lucrative contracts, do you think some of them set up foundations more for tax purposes?
No, I really believe, and in my heart, I believe that these guys are all doing it for the right reasons. I've never come across anybody who has done it for anything but the right reasons.
Okay. I was just curious. I mean, because we know we've seen it with in other with other wealthy business people. So.
Yeah, this is a little. I think this is a little different. And most of them, the organizations that they're helping are either cancer related or something that they hold dear to their heart. They have an uncle who has some sort of disease, and they work with that foundation. But I have in all the years I've been doing this, I have not come across anybody anywhere in any level who has set up a foundation to just as a tax purpose.
Okay. No, I'm just curious. I mean, you have, because you have, the Walton family. You have Mr. Trump. You have the Clintons. They're like at the forefront. But no, I mean, me personally, I have to say that, the ball players that I've gotten to know, like a lot of the things that they do, we have a lot of former ball players. What are you doing? Well, I'm coaching high school. I've got a little baseball instructional thing going. I'm, just trying to teach. And then, of course, you hear about people like Pedro Martinez and David Ortiz and Robinson Cano, who have certainly, taken on, holding the motherload. And, Pedro builds a church in his town. And,
right.
It just goes on and on and on. And it's, and it's great to hear. But I always, like I say, listen, on the other side of like the business people that, are doing, that set up these foundations and they never contribute a dime to it. On the other hand, you'll have a guy like, Bill Gates and his wife, where, they're giving away, and Warren Buffett, who, I forgot what the percentage was, but Warren Buffett, has willed an astronomical percentage of his wealth to go to the Bill and Melissa Gates Foundation because they, so.
Well, another player that I'm going to mention is Carlos Beltran. You have Carlos and Jessica Beltran who have, I can't even begin to tell you what they have done. The biggest thing is they use their own funding to start their own academy in Puerto Rico, and it's the Carlos Beltran Baseball Academy. I guess this is the fourth year it's in existence. They've had some kids drafted this year, and it's an education academy, not necessarily to only get these kids to be drafted, but to teach them English, teach them so they can get into schools. And the Puerto Rico Baseball Academy does the same, so they can get into schools and further their education here in the States. And not just to play baseball, but there are so many other jobs, there's so many other careers that can come out of the sport. And so few of them will actually make it to the big leagues that, what the goals of these academies, the Beltran Academy, the Puerto Rico Baseball Academy, I sit on the board of directors of the Dominican Republic Sports and Education Academy. Same thing. The goal is to educate these kids and to use baseball as a way to further their education and give them a better life through education and sports. So the Beltrans have just done so much. I've been involved with their foundation for years. This year, they provided scholarships to, I believe it was 6 college kids here in New York. Carlos and Jessica live here in New York with their family, and they provided scholarships to kids to further their education. Not Puerto Rican, anybody, whoever, these 6 kids, and they presented it at the Beltran Gala in July here in New York.
Tell me something. Do you think there should be an international draft?
That's a can of worms. I think there needs to be some more regulations in the international market, but I don't know how an international draft will work. It certainly doesn't level the playing field if there's an international draft. It's just going to cause some issues, but there are reasons why they need to, and there's so much that goes on in the Dominican that there are certainly reasons why they need to do something to regulate what is happening down there.
Yes. No, I know. I'm aware. You have the agents who pretty much, they develop these kids, they support these kids, but, they get a piece of the action forever.
Right. And the Busconis, there's so much going on. I'm not comfortable getting into, but there needs to be something done. And since I've been involved with the Dominican Republic Sports and Education Academy since it was a concept, and now it is up and running. I do sit on the board of directors at this point on the advisory board, and we're working diligently to grow this and get the funding needed to make it bigger, because the educational gap with the Dominican Republic is so big, from here to the States. Puerto Rico is much better. It's part of the United States, so their educational system is so much better. But you've got Panama, Venezuela, Dominican, their education system doesn't even come close.
Right. Now, do you think, looking back, players in Puerto Rico are actually subject to the Major League Draft. Do you think that was wrong, or do you think that was a mistake?
Well, I think it hurt Puerto Rico to bring them in back in 2000 when they became part of the draft. I think it hurt the kids down there because they were up against, they were up now against all the kids in the United States. And I believe it definitely hurt baseball in Puerto Rico. But since Carlos Correa was drafted out of the academy and some other academies have popped up down there and more kids are drafted, Major League Baseball just threw millions of dollars into growing the program in Puerto Rico through their coaching development program. I think that's changing, and I think Puerto Rico has certainly shown that the talent is there with the kids that they've had drafted over the last few years. So I definitely think that's changing, but it did hurt. It did hurt baseball in Puerto Rico.
And I guess you would consider Puerto Rico, even though they're subject to the draft, but you would consider, I guess, Puerto Rico Dominican Republic and Venezuela as like the three foreign baseball hotbeds. What do you think is the next Latin American, South American baseball hotbed?
Well, certainly Cuba, when the borders are open, is going to change things considerably.
I you know what? Yeah, I overlooked that. And I think they can almost, you can almost actually include them now.
Right.
But
I'd say Nicaragua, the next step. Baseball is growing in Nicaragua in leaps and bounds. Dennis Martinez has an academy down there. MLB now has an office down there. I've traveled to Nicaragua with Roberto Clemente Jr. We brought baseball equipment as well as toward the island or the country, and some of their medical facilities, as well as as the baseball teams that we work with down there. And it's definitely growing. There have been plans for a baseball academy Central America, and I'm not sure how far along that is. It had been going very well, and then I haven't really heard much about it since then. But Dennis Martinez does have an academy down there and works to do anything he can with the kids in Nicaragua. So I would say that's probably the next place. Colombia as well.
Yes, I was going to ask you about Colombia. That seems to be making some inroads.
Yes, there's definitely baseball. Brazil.
I was about to say we
growing
have
everywhere.
some Brazilian. I mean, a lot of people don't realize, like, hey, Jan Gomes is from Brazil.
Okay.
And I think, and the guy with the Royals, Paulo Orlando, I believe he's from Brazil.
Yes, he is. So
there you go.
Yeah, there are definitely some changes going to happen. I think Europe as well. European baseball is going to start growing.
I'm not sure, but I think the kid with the Twins, I think Max Kepler, I think he grew up in Germany, or I think there's some kind of background there, and actually, we haven't heard much. We haven't really after Graham Lloyd and there was another pitcher. Haven't heard much about Australia in a while. It looked as though they were, all players used to go play in the RC League in the off season.
Mm-hmm. There's still a lot of players go down there to play in the winter. So I don't really know much about youth baseball in Australia, but with Little League has grown in leaps and bounds as well internationally. So there's opportunity everywhere.
Right. That's great. So, Craig, do you have any other questions?
I was just wondering, are you planning on traveling to Cuba?
I actually had a meeting this weekend to discuss a trip going to Cuba the day after Christmas, and I'm thinking about taking both my sons with me to go to Cuba in the day after Christmas.
I thought I was really hoping you were going to say February, and I'd say just like I can definitely grab a vacation week and like I can take notes and carry stuff. So.
Well, there's a trip going. There's a group from Philadelphia going on the 26th of December, and I'm meeting with them this weekend. I was put in contact with them through a good friend of my son, and so I'll be meeting with them this weekend. But one of the things that I am focused on here right now, and this is something that is very important to me, is to get more inner city kids here in the States playing ball, to get more black players out in the field. And I do as much as I can here in the Philadelphia area, as well as in New Jersey, New York, like I said, in Chicago, whether it's getting equipment or planning these clinics or getting former players out to meet with these kids and, let them know that there is opportunity for them to play. But I think one of the things that I really want to focus on over the next year is to figure out a way to get major corporations, former players, current players, to set up some sort of funding for scholarship money, because I believe the only way to grow baseball inner city and with getting more black players out playing is through scholarships, because they need to have something to look forward to, not just on the baseball field, but There are football scholarships, there are basketball scholarships where these kids have the opportunity to have a better future, but there are so few baseball scholarships that is something that I really want to focus on and work on getting more kids playing, more kids in school.
Yeah, you may have an uphill battle there. It's really remarkable.
It is an uphill battle.
When you look at rosters, I mean, so many African American kids turn their back on younger youth baseball in order to play the higher glamorous sports of basketball and football, and it's remarkable how not just African American kids, but so many. I just don't see kids playing baseball. I live in the Princeton, New Jersey area, and they have a hard time getting a whole league together.
Right, that's a soccer hotbed.
Yeah, right. It's soccer and lacrosse just has become such a big sport also, and it's robbing. Kids aren't playing baseball. It doesn't seem possible. So what you're doing is terrific.
Thank you. But I think a lot of times, and this is something that drives me crazy, is coaches try to discourage kids from playing multiple sports. And, they want them to specialize so early, and that's completely not what should be done. The more sports they play, the better. I don't believe kids should be playing baseball year-round. My son does not, neither mine did, but they don't play baseball year-round. I have one who wrestles. My other son played basketball. So, they do other sports. It helps them make a more well-rounded kid. And scouts are looking for, they're looking for that. So.
Yeah. I see that. I don't see the coaches being the problem. I see these crazy parents being
the parents, right?
Saying, listen, in order to get to college and a scholarship, you're going to just be focusing on lacrosse and nothing else. And it's such a shame because you've got these just terrific athletes, and we grew up. Baseball was the first and foremost sport. Everything.
Right. We always had a glove. Yeah. And picked it up and played in the yard, played out in the streets. We played run the bases, wiffle ball. I mean, I have two brothers, one a year older, one a year younger. I didn't have a prayer. Whatever they were doing, that's what I did. And so we were always out, throwing a ball somewhere. Even if you didn't have anybody else to play with, you had your glove on your hand and you threw a rubber ball against the garage door. So,
but if you grow up in the city, it's different. You see, if you grow up in the city, it's different. I grew up in New York City, and so we would go to the park. All right, so when the weather was warm, we played, and we didn't play baseball in the park because you couldn't, but we played softball. If you wanted to play baseball, you had to join a league. The league wasn't close, I mean. So sometimes it got a little complicated. So we played baseball. We also played, we had basketball. We also played a lot of basketball. And then when the seasons changed, we played football, and some guys would play roller hockey. They would find a spot, in the parks. And what also has happened a lot in New York City is you had a lot of overcrowding in the schools. And I can tell you that, the public school that I went to, the elementary school that I went to, part of the yard, part of the park was taken over by annex buildings for the school. My junior high school, almost the whole yard is gone. All annex buildings. I think the only thing that's left at the very end of the block is handball courts. There was another school that was a few blocks from me, which actually ended up becoming like the schoolyard I hung out with all through my teen years. That too. There's there's a couple of basketball courts and some handball courts, but the rest of it, where we actually used to play stickball and softball, it's gone. It's not there because they needed annex buildings. So it's very difficult to find places to play. When my oldest son was, let's say, 15 and 16, we used to drive to. There was one schoolyard that was wide open. We used to drive there to play stickball. The old stickball where you have the box, the strike zone box on the wall, and basically judged on how you hit the ball would decide on what kind of hit or out or whatever it was. And but we had to drive. You couldn't even find these places. So that's also a problem. I don't know how it is in other inner cities, but I can certainly tell you that that is the case in New York City, with maybe the exception of where I live now in Staten Island. There's a lot of little leagues in Staten Island, and there were football leagues. But in the other four boroughs, there's just no space. There really is.
Right. There's no space. The fields are not in good shape, or they don't have equipment. I was able to connect with a team this weekend in a tournament that my son played in. They had a team that came from the Philadelphia inner city area, and they didn't have equipment. They had one bat. Their bats were illegal. They were the BSER bats rather than the BB cores, and they were they weren't able to use them, so they were down to one bat. The catcher's gear didn't fit, and I was there on Saturday and talked to the tournament director, and who happened to be the husband of my cousin, which is just kind of, I was in the right place at the right time. And he said, let me introduce you to the coach, and you can help him. And I brought my kids and I came home. We packed up 2 huge bags of equipment and brought it to him the next day. And he had tears in his eyes when I gave it to him. It's like, I don't want handouts. I said, this is not a handout. This is to help these kids, keep them off the streets. And one of the kids came up to me after I brought this equipment and gave it to him. And he said, you mean we don't have to pay for this? I said, oh, no, you're going to pay, and you have a very hefty bill here to pay. I said, but how you're going to pay me is you're going to stay in school. You're going to listen to your parents. You're going to use this equipment, and you're going to make good choices and stay off the streets. You're going to use baseball as a way to have a better future. You learn every skill you could possibly need to succeed in life on a baseball field: sportsmanship, teamwork, discipline, trust. So what you're going to do is I'm going to check in on you and make sure that you guys are doing well in school, listening to your coach, doing well at home. And then what I want you to do, when you're done with this equipment, I want you to pass it on to the next kid and tell them why you're giving it to them and what they need to do. So that's how you're going to pay me. And he looked up at me, didn't skip a beat, and he went, okay, cool. And just kind of walked away. They get it. He got it. He understood what I was saying to him. And here, their coach didn't even have a kid who was playing. He just loved the sport, loved the game, and he wanted to do something to give back to his community. So here he is out coaching Saturdays, evenings, taking them to tournaments. And these kids couldn't even afford the host team funded the fee for them to play in the tournament. But it was a way to give back to the community and give these kids an opportunity to understand that somebody else believes in you. Sometimes that's all they need to hear is, I believe in you. Go out there and do your best. You don't have to win, but do your best. And that's what makes this so important.
Yeah, I think it's great that you're focusing on American communities. I have daughters who are in college and in high school, and a lot of their friends travel abroad to do to build huts and hospital enclosures and whatnot for people in Latin America and whatnot, and it's terrific. Don't get me wrong, it's wonderful, but there's so much to be done here.
Right here in our own backyard, exactly.
Right, and it's great that your eyes are on Latin America and whatnot, and that's terrific. I think it's really great that you've got your eyes on what's going on in our communities here. That's just
absolutely.
Just
we need just as much, and there are, like I said, in my own backyard. I'm 15 miles from Philadelphia. And, what I drive through and what I see, and I've been connected to the Hunting Park community since 2010. And what I have seen, the impact that these coaches and the programs have made for these kids, it's beyond my wildest imagination. When I stepped foot on there, I never would have imagined what could have happened. Ryan Howard built a field in Hunting Park, and that field, no matter when you go down there, there's somebody on that field, whether it's kids playing with the Hunting Park organization or softball teams playing. That field is being used. So it's amazing for me to see the impact that a few baseball gloves and what Pitching for Baseball has done. I also worked with an organization out of Milwaukee called Global Giving. They have sent equipment all over as well. So there are so many ways to use baseball as a way to a better future. And, I'm truly blessed to be able to do what I do. Some days I don't know what I do, but I do know that no matter what I do, I'm doing it to help, and I'm doing it from my heart because I truly believe in what I do, and I do believe that baseball can help make the world a better place.
That's terrific.
Well, I don't want to spoil the party, but
the party's just about to start. It's time to go.
I was about to say, I believe we scheduled, for those of you in the audience, we started the show at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday, the night of Game 7 of the World Series. So the show is usually released whenever we do it the following week on Tuesday. So I don't have anybody in my heart who I want to win. I mean, there's just so much about both teams that I like. But last week on the show, I picked the Cubs in 6, and Craig wasn't here. Our fill-in co-host picked the Indians in 6. I picked the Cubs in 6. But I tell you what, I don't even know. If I was a gambler, this is not a game I would bet.
No, it's not. And it's just so exciting. It's just so exciting. Right now.
I tell you what, to me, what I saw last night, I saw the Cubs hitters a little more relaxed. Mm-hmm. And so I think if the Cubs can put 4 on the board in the first 5 innings, I think they'll hold on. Barely, but I think they'll hold on. But I
predicted the Cubs in 7, so I'm hoping that's how it goes. So.
And what about and Craig? Who are you? You're with Angela?
My pick was Cubs in 5, so I was wrong pretty early on, but I've never wavered, and I think they're going to win tonight. Hey, Angela, for our listeners, give us the website so they can follow what you're doing and possibly donate and whatnot. Go ahead.
Okay. It's beyond-the-diamond.com.
Very good.
There you go. And for those of you that don't remember,
also,
yes. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. You can find us on Twitter as well. It's Beyond THDIAMOND. And
okay.
So please follow, and anything you can do to help would be great. And anything you can do in your own community, get out and into your own community. You can always find someone who needs something or needs help. And one of the things I do like to do with kids, like my son's team, is help them partner and let them see what it's like in these other places. So, these kids who are out and need to have a $299 bat, and then the bat they don't want next year because it's a different color, donate it. Give it to someone who can use it. Give it to someone in need. There's so much that they can do, and kids helping kids, I think, is a great opportunity.
And Angela, anytime you have anything relevant to the foundation to post on Facebook, always feel free to post it. I added you to the Weighted Donuts group. That is actually the name of our show. I don't know if you're familiar, if you know the connection, but I had an Elston Howard moment when I was a young boy, and he was always one of my favorites. So, and Craig knew that. So when we had to come up with a name for the show, Craig came up with Weighted Donuts. So always feel free to post anything that's relevant to the organization, or anything you want relevant to baseball itself on the group page. I have people on there, sports writers on there, former players on there, et cetera. And and I thought no one was paying attention, but every once in a while something pops up where it shows that, like, wow, that guy is watching us, or that guy did notice it. So,
right.
Feel free.
They do.
Anytime.
People do. So, yeah, I appreciate that, and I'd be happy to do that.
Okay.
I'm probably one of the few women who know what a weighted donut actually is.
Yes.
We have to donate those now.
They've evolved into tubes. Yeah. But they've evolved into weighted tubes.
Yeah.
All right,
that's true. They're not donuts anymore. That's right.
All right, go Cubs, and nice meeting you, and we'll speak to you again.
You as well.
Thank you for coming on.
Safe travels.
Right,
have a great night.
Great night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So, Craig?
That's probably our most interesting guest that we've ever had. What a wonderful.
There you go.
And,
I tell you what, we've done, we've had a lot of different backgrounds, but yeah, that's like, total selflessness.
Yeah.
And,
all right, time to watch some baseball. Have a good week. And,
yes.
Same
to you.
We'll speak to everybody next week.
All right. Have a good night.
Season. You too. Bye-bye.
All right.